Welcome to Hairblazers, the podcast where we empower you to disrupt the beauty industry, starting with your chair and your salon. You can focus on running your business and tune in here to find out how to keep it moving forward. Here's how we cut our color wastage by 54% with Vish. Weighing your color actually gets your team to figure out how much product they're using per application. If they complete the service and there's 20 grams left in their bowl, they then realize they mixed 20 grams too much. Vish automatically adjusts color formulas for repeat guests so your stylists mix only what they need. Because Vish is automatically tracking the amount of color being used, you can make sure you're charging your guests accurately. There's no more mixing an extra 10 or 20 grams without charging for it. Now we save 244 tubes of color every year rather than pouring it down the drain. So today we have Joshua Howard from Vish, CEO and founder. I actually didn't know this about you, Josh, but you have a master's in science from Memorial University. You've also been able to apply your expertise in data analysis to the hair color industry with Vish. So this is kind of a breakthrough. You're helping salon owners make data-driven decisions to increase revenue, streamline their businesses. So data is a big thing these days. So tell me, how did you create Vish? Tell us a little bit about your story.
So my brother, who I wanted to be on the podcast, he was actually on the road right now, so he couldn't join. He came up with this idea originally. He had a salon for 20 years. He was an educator as well. And, this technology, the main thing it was trying to address was to eliminate hair color waste. He found that, he would grow his salon, but as he was adding more chairs, profits didn't seem to grow. Then he traveled as an educator for Aveda for a long period of time in the States, and he would always ask those salon owners, what do they do to address waste? And they went down a different road with it. He had a business partner. They tried to build an Android application. They were going to build their own custom scale. They never really got off the ground. They never really figured the technology out. And I was working in medical research at St. Mike's Hospital, and he asked me to come back and help him realize this technology. And unfortunately, that didn't work out so well. The technology wasn't a good fit. We found there was a lot of usability issues. And in this space, if the stylists are going to use it, it has to be incredibly user friendly. But, when we did build the prototype and we did get it off the ground for the new team, so I stepped into the CEO role. But then I started looking, looking at the data we were getting back through our technology. It was very simple, and profitability was all over the place. People made money off of highlighting services, but they lost money on toners. They lost money on single process or root regrowth applications. And I was asking my brother, I'm like, why do they only make money on certain services? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, bleach is very cheap per gram, and they charge a lot because there's a lot of time involved. But if you look at toners, people are charging $30 for toners. So then we really switched gears and was like, okay, waste was a thing, but it's the bigger impact is at the front desk. So then we started working with salon owners and trying to convince them that they needed to price them more accurately, needed to charge for extra product. We've got a great technology, but there's a lot of different environments out there. And we're seeing a change in the industry for sure. People are definitely getting more comfortable charging for what product is being used. But, it's challenging to go into a salon and tell them to change the way they do business, the way they've been doing business for decades. But we've really, we do have a good recipe now where we put our system in place. We go through the data with them, and then we allow them to make decisions based on the data that we're sharing.
Yeah, and I guess that's the great thing about data is it doesn't lie, right? If you can show someone this is what it is, this is what your team's wasting, this is how much your guests are paying. Like when we first opened, we were trying to get our back bar when we were ordering color, we were trying to get it to 6%. We're at 13%, and we're like, I'm pretty sure we're not wasting. Like, what's going on? And so I figure that like there's so many salon owners that I don't know if they're turning a blind eye to it, but maybe they don't even realize like how much of an issue it is. And for us, we didn't know, and honestly, until we brought on Vish, and then we saw some huge changes, which I'll go over after.
And it's not just waste either. Like, it's funny, people budget for 40 grams of color plus developer for a new growth application. But some people are using, or say for a toner, they may use 300 grams of color because they needed to tone the hair multiple times. or they needed to do a new growth and a refresh. So most salons have these charges built into their service menu, but they're afraid to charge it, and they rely on the stylist to communicate that to the front desk. And oftentimes the stylist maybe is not super happy with the outcome, or maybe they're running behind, or maybe they forget, or maybe they felt bad, so they discount. So there's massive amounts of revenue leaking out because there's like so many variables in play. And by us just streamlining that and pushing that to the front desk and having that cultural shift, I mean, we estimate that we can generate about $10,000 of additional profit per chair per year.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I guess for those people that don't, I mean, we've been with Vish for a while. A lot of people know about Vish. Maybe give us a breakdown of like what Vish does kind of at the basic level for people that maybe don't know.
Yeah, so we have three pieces of front-facing technology. So we have a mobile, so like an iPad application that connects to a Bluetooth scale. We have a visual interface, so as they're mixing color, Vish saves the formula, communicates that all to the front desk. We reweigh the waste at the end, so it will refine the waste. We also enable stylists to be able to, change how much they need on the fly. So if they run out of color mid-application and they need to go back and get another half bulb color, Vish will do the math for you. Then it sends that information to the front desk app. It's a widget that sits on top of your salon software. We allow the salon to set up a budget of how much color they can use per application. And then when they exceed that amount, which is more than half of your services are typically over budget and color, it will just trigger an extra product charge based on the customization. Some salons are switching to parts and labor, where they're charging straight out for the product. So they charge for the service and they charge for the product. So we can do that as well. And although that's a little bit more rare, the most common method we see is people charging for extra product, because it enables the stylist to have a fixed price if they stay within budget. And then we have a web platform that shows all of the analytics, shows employee performance, and enables salons to have a very readable dashboard to see where their cost per application is for the individual stylist. And then we also have like each individual service type and how much you're using, so it'll enable you to budget a little bit better. And then we have the inventory module as well, where you can pull down an Excel spreadsheet and order based on that. One key thing about our technology is that we're integrated with most salon software platforms. So we're integrated with 13 different platforms, and we have an integration team. So we're constantly looking to enhance those. And we'll be working for automatic reordering of product. Will be coming this year for some distributors in the States. Our goal and our vision is to, first make salons more profitable. That's like our North Star. We know that the average salon, generates about 5% net profit. We want to get everybody over 20%. And then we want to make the product show up on your doorstep without any human interaction. So you should be able to have everything you need on hand. We want to reduce the amount that you carry in the salon and be able to automate the reordering process.
I love that. That is great. And I feel like Vish is a very fluid company. So it's not like you come up with this technology and that's just how it is. So I love that you're always creating new things. Personally, as a business using Vish, obviously it's great. You're cutting down waste, you're charging for the right amount of product. You don't have somebody, adding an extra 10 grams of color and then feeling bad and not charging the guest for it. So obviously for salon owners, it's a great, great thing. But we've also found that our team has loved it, because sometimes, you're not sure how your team's going to want to adopt it. And are they going to actually reweigh? Because so much of it is, are you weighing the color and are you reweighing the color? So what are some, would you say, of like the benefits for the team as well, not just the owners, for using Vish?
Stylists are busy, and you need that formula information to be saved. And oftentimes people were writing formulas down after the fact. People were using just like generic scales, and maybe the formulation was off because the scale doesn't save the information. So if you're going 40 grams plus 2 grams of a pure tone, or if you're the average mix has 5 ingredients in it, and as soon as you hit 0 on the traditional scale, like, oh, was that 40 grams or was that 60? Was that 42? So we save it, we give them a visual interface. So it's just a better tool. It just says like a nice blow dryer or a great pair of scissors. The stylists like it because it's a high quality scale, and it's technology that helps them do their jobs more accurately and more precisely. There's a sustainability component as well. Front and center for all businesses and all industries is to do their part and be more sustainable. And not pouring 30% of your inventory down the drain is a great environmental story. And It makes it easier for stylists to mix color. And at the end of the day, we want them to make more money. So if all of their services are automatically being pushed to the front desk, that add-on toner, they forgot to charge for it, it's putting more money in their pocket as well. We work with a lot of top salons. We know that the top salons are giving good benefits. There's lots of education. And in order for a stylist to enhance their career and maximize their potential, the salon that they work in needs to be profitable.
Absolutely.
And they need to have money to reinvest in the team. Otherwise, we see a lot of business closures. It's avoidable because a lot of people have guests coming in, but because they don't know how to make every service profitable, they're going through too much inventory, not capturing enough revenue. So it's great for the salon owner and it's great for the stylist. And we really think about the stylist whenever we build a new feature or whenever we build the interface. We spend a lot of time in salons and working with them. And we get pushback. People don't like change. We don't have time to mix with Vish. I've put a stopwatch down and I say, this is your first time using the technology. Build a formula and mix with Vish. And I'm like, well, that was 30 seconds. You didn't have to write down the formula. You didn't have to tell the front desk. The vast majority of our salons see the value, roll it out and use it effectively. But one of the biggest things I tell salon owners, like once you put this in place, the stylists have to be involved in the success. So if you're making more profit, you have to incentivize them, reinvesting in those benefits and having them align. Hey, once we get here, you'll get this, and incentivizing the staff is super, super important for this to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to be transparent as a salon owner. It's like, this is like, we're not just doing this, so we can make more money. It's for everybody, and really getting the team on board. I wasn't totally sure. I know our team is usually pretty good when we bring new things in. And again, in the beginning, it was a little bit tough, but staying on board, like I'm going to give you just a few numbers that I looked up this morning. So I compared 6 months in 2020 from when we first brought on Vish to the same 6 months in 2022. And we went from a 10% wastage down to a 6% wastage. I like to do it in boxes because I feel like hairstylists really kind of get that. So we saved 122 boxes of color in those 6 months. And on top of that, our reweigh went from 86% to 96%. So I'm guessing in those 10%, there was probably a lot more wastage, because when do people not reweigh? When they end up having 20 grams of color in their bowl. To see that difference in like a small amount of time, when we first brought it on, first of all, we had a heart attack when we first saw how much color was being wasted at the beginning. I know wasting is not all of it. We do tend to charge well for our services, but at our staff meeting, we brought, I think it was 56 tubes of color or something from like 1 month. And we put 56 tubes of color on the table. And anybody guess what this is? And like, that's kind of a shock. Maybe I'm not wasting that much, but as a team, we're wasting a lot. And I feel like that was a great way to get people on board seeing it.
The reason why there's so much waste in the industry is because people are busy and doing the math on the fly is challenging, and people are taught to use round numbers. So, but not every client needs 40 grams of color. Some need 20 grams of color and some need 80 grams of color. And I think stylists are just set up to waste, because when they're going through the formulations, most people start with a certain amount and they go back when they need 10 more grams. But like, I'm not going to risk messing up the outcome for the client. So rather than going through, and try to do the math, they're like, I'm just going to mix another full bowl of color. And then enlightening powder, that is the biggest waster, because people mix that like pancake mix. They
Absolutely.
do it based on consistency. But the consistency is predictable if you write down the formula, if you
Yes.
save it with Vish. It's funny, like every salon and every stylist, not every, but a vast majority of people don't think that they waste that much. But then when we show the data with them, they're like, wow, that's a lot. And it adds up. We're a very high touch technology company. So we don't send you the software and be like, cool, here's a manual, figure it out. We do a lot of education. Our educators are in salons every day. All of them have either worked in a salon or have been behind the chair. The vast majority of them are stylists themselves. And we know that it's a big change for salons to change how you weigh, to change how you charge, to change how you way you do inventory. So we do it in bite-sized chunks. We go at your pace. And some salons don't roll out extra product charges for, I've had some salons that have been with us for a couple of years before they do it. So it is a system with a lot of different customizations, and we really work very closely with the salons to make sure you get the most out of the system.
Yeah, I'll say the support has been fantastic. So even from when we implemented, everyone's a little bit nervous. Sending out, we'll give Casey a shout out because she's unbelievable. She came into our salon, and even after 2 days, everyone just felt so much better. And just knowing you have that support where you're busy, you're in a rush, you have somebody there to help you out in that moment. Yeah, that's huge. And also just support in general. I send an email out to your team, and usually I hear back within the hour or so. So that's great.
Every single salon owner that I speak to, when they have the option to go with online or on-site training, I'm like, listen, you're invested in this, send someone on site. And one of the funny things I always say to people, the technology is not hard to use, but stylists are busy. So
Mhm.
they're not going to take the time to learn it on their own most times. And what ends up happening is we send someone on site, we show them how to use it, and then we're like, oh, that's it? Like,
Mm,
yes. And it
mhm.
just builds that trust with them because then like, well, listen, we're committed to showing you how to use this. And oftentimes they're like, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to learn it later. Like, no, slow down, mix color in real time. And they're like, oh my God, this is so easy. And when we get the real buy-in is at the 4 week mark. Once the 4 to 6 week mark, once those guests come in, the services are pushed from the software, the formulas are saved, and they can just remix. And then we get the feedback all the time. The stylists are like, wow, there is zero waste left over in this bowl. And that's once we get to that threshold, that's when we certainly get the buy-in. And I get really frustrated when people leave the platform because I feel like they bought it, they wanted it. And one of the biggest ones, we use a 4 location out of Colorado. They're like, yeah, we don't want to use Vish anymore. So I got them on the phone. I went through the data and I said, listen, this is the size of the opportunity. We sent Casey out there to train them because they went with online. This is in the pandemic era. When Casey went out, we turned them around and we generated $370,000 of additional profit when fully rolled out because they rolled up parts and labor. We took them from $9 of application down to $5 per application, and then we incorporated product charges, so they were able to additional $370,000 of profit in a year.
Imagine if they would have left. Like, that's huge.
Well, it was funny because she said, and without Vish, they don't know where their business would be because they lost almost that exact same amount in retail over a lot of the buying, you know, trends and whatnot, and a
Right.
lot of professional product they claimed that would never go online or never go into, your Ulta Beauties and stuff like that
Yep.
started. So a lot of the salons are losing on this revenue. So they really need that extra line item to be able to recoup a lot of lost revenue.
Yeah, I mean, that completely makes sense. And as far as costing goes, like, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Obviously, the cost could be a little bit different depending on the salon, but like, how long would you say for most salons are they going to start seeing Vish paying for itself?
It varies, depending on the volume, the waste is challenging, depending on, say our average salon pays $225 per month. So that's not hard to recoup, but if you're recouping the extra product charges, it's like, in one day. Top salons are, they're getting a 30x return on investment from Vish. Like, we're not in this to make a lot of money off a salon. We're in this to get in every salon globally, as many salons as possible. It's a volume play for us. So it's a pretty low cost considering all the things it takes care of. I mean, we'll reduce how much you're purchasing by about 30% if really dialed in. We'll reduce your inventory counting time. And then the extra product charges is the biggest one because the reality is people want to charge for the services. And if you can really incorporate that in your culture, it's thousands and thousands of dollars per year.
Wow, very cool. So, is there anything else, like in regards to Vish, that I haven't asked you yet that you think should be mentioned?
I would say that if anybody that's tried Vish in the past would like to give it another look, I mean, they can reach out to me directly, and we have a great offer for people who've spent money with us in the past. We'll just credit them for what they spent in the past towards using it in the future. I think whether it's us or another soft, like, you need technology in the color room. It's your number one cost besides rent, and maybe sometimes it's higher than rent and labor. So to not have any insight or any strategy to generate more profit, like, you need technology back there. And if you're going to roll it out, go with one of our on-site educators. It's very imperative that you put a customized rollout strategy that matches your culture.
Well, I was going to say too, anyone that's watching this, my guess if they don't have some sort of color weighing system or technology is they're going to want to reach out to you. So where can everyone find you?
You can go to getvish.com. You can book a demo with one of our product specialists. Anybody that wants to connect with me directly, I'm pretty sure my meeting link's on the website, and I do leave my cell phone number lengthy too. But I know my meeting link
Dangerous.
is, and I think that touches to like how much of a high touch team that we are. That you've reached out to me so many times, and you're having
Yes.
challenges. And we have a support department that's always available, but you know, if any customer is ever having any challenges or wants to know more about Vish, that I'm available 7 days a week to get on the call. And I think a lot of our legacy clients could attest to that.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. And I'm sure I'll have a lot of people reaching out.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. It was great seeing you.
You too. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to leave a review, share this episode, and listen next time.